May the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen.
Amen.
Have you ever been betrayed by someone you trusted? If you have, you know it's a terrible feeling. It leaves you wondering what is real and what isn't. And it can make you question every relationship you have. Betrayal is a terrible thing to experience. This may come as a surprise, but our gospel lesson today is really about betrayal. It is taken from the 13th chapter of John's gospel, and it's what we just read is very short. It's only 4 verses. And these 4 verses most certainly stand alone. Jesus is teaching his disciples how important it is that they love each other. And he is also telling him in his own way that he is going to die, and that it will be the way that God shows the world God's glory. It's a bit confusing, but I think we can wrap our minds around it for the most part. However, if we look at what happens before and after this short gospel reading, I think it'll give us a different and more powerful perspective on what's happening. The 13th chapter of John's gospel is a kind of tipping point. It is the chapter that has inspired many works of art. You know, the Last Supper paintings where they're all at the table and Jesus is in the middle. Da Vinci Code, if you read that. So that's the 13th chapter of John's gospel. In this chapter, Jesus washes his disciples' feet. He teaches them, again, about the importance of loving each other. He tells them that he's going to die soon. And he also tells them that somebody among them will betray him. He even names his betrayer and sends him off with the words, "Do quickly what you are going to do." Now, when the disciples hear Jesus say this, they are confused. They think that Judas is going off to buy whatever is needed for the Passover. This is the night before the Passover celebration. So our gospel today picks up at the point when Judas leaves, and Jesus immediately, upon his departure, addresses his disciples. Now, there has been much written about Judas and his motivations and what really happened. Some say that Jesus had all this in mind, that it was planned by him. Others say it wasn't. And I don't know what's true or what isn't. What I do know is that the gospel tells us that Jesus was troubled in spirit. And we all know what it feels like to be troubled in spirit. Jesus was troubled in spirit, and he tells his disciples about his betrayal. This is what is troubling me. What I understand from this is that this moment in Jesus' life was not a painless one. This is not one that he just was going with the flow and okay with everything. It bothered him. He was being betrayed, and he knew who his betrayer was. Now, after our little 4-verse reading today, Peter asked Jesus, "Where are you going?" Because Jesus has just said, "Where I'm going, you cannot come." So Peter asks Jesus where it is that he is going and tells Jesus that he will follow him. In fact, he will lay down his life for Jesus. And Jesus responds, "Will you? Because before the rooster crows, you too will have denied me 3 times." And that's chapter 13. Our little gospel about glory and love comes in the midst of everything crashing down around Jesus. From Judas betraying him, who Judas wasn't stellar among the disciples, let's say, but also Peter. Jesus knows that Peter is going to deny him, and Peter was one of the, he was a rock of the disciples, an important leader among the 12. Betrayals and denials and abandonment is what awaits Jesus, and he knows it. He is fully aware of what is happening. And what does he do? Does he say, "Oh, Judas, he is an awful person. You can't trust him anymore"? Does he say, "Peter, you are weak"? Does he look for a way out? Does he look for someone to blame? I mean, that's what I would do if I was Jesus. I would probably say, "Judas is an awful person, and Peter, you are weak, and get me out of here." Jesus doesn't. He takes the opportunity to teach them once again about love. He tells his disciples to love one another. At the hour of his betrayal, arrest, and impending murder, what matters most to Jesus is love. So what does this tell us about our lives? It sure puts things into perspective. From the petty stuff that really gets to us, and it gets to all of us, to the more painful moments of our lives that leave us feeling fearful or angry, maybe not daring to trust. How often in these times is our response love? I can speak for myself when I say I fall short of this all the time. And I dare say we all do. And I can say with confidence that our falling short is something that is so human and so real. And that ultimately it provides us an opportunity to return to God, to return to love. Falling short is our human condition. Our returning to God is God's grace. At the end of the day, for Jesus, what matters is love. At the end of the day for us, when all is said and done, how much we know, how much we've done with our lives, what we have accomplished, and even where we have failed. All that matters very little. What matters is love. Have we loved one another? Have we sought Christ in the other? Have we been of service to others? Have we been the loving presence of Christ for someone else? I believe our community here at Epiphany is a special place where the love of God is felt genuinely in our relationships with one another. We are very blessed to have a community like this, truly. I believe the heart of today's gospel is love. Love that we experience here, and love as an antidote to all those things out in the world that bring us pain or make us angry or make us fearful. In this gospel, love is Jesus' antidote to his troubled spirit. And the love of God, as we see in the person of Jesus, is the antidote for whatever troubles our spirits. This life of faith that we live doesn't mean that everything is going to turn out okay for us. It's not magic. But this life of faith does mean that no matter how things turn out, we are going to be okay. We are going to be okay because we have the love of God in one another and inside of our own hearts. That is the grace of God, which is with us always.